Okay, hello grade 7s. Welcome to our flipped classroom. This is going to be a bit weird for me to get used to, not actually looking at you while I teach, so bear with me. So we're starting chapter 3, and you are going to be seeing the lecture part at home on the computer, and then you'll be coming to class and we'll be able to work together on problems. And you should already know when you come to school then what you're supposed to be doing. So we're doing this chapter 3, and we're doing section 1 together first here and looking at parallel and perpendicular lines. So we're going to be looking at how we can tell if two lines are parallel or perpendicular, and also how we can make two lines that are parallel or perpendicular. So we're going to first look at parallel lines. So parallel lines, as defined in your textbook, describes lines in the same plane that never cross, which is really what we're looking at, or intersect, which means that they are running in the exact same direction. Even if they're going to go on forever, they would never cross, because since they're going in the same direction, they can't meet. They're always going to be the same distance apart at every point, and they're straight lines, so they don't curve. And they are marked using arrows. So here we have some parallel lines. So here we have line A, B, that is one line, and we have line C, D is another line, and it is marked with some arrows here. One arrow right here, whoops, dropped the marker, and one right here. And those are what tell us that these two lines are parallel. They both have that same arrow on them. So here we're not finding out if these are parallel. We're already told by the arrows. We can have another set of lines which may cross these. So we also have line MN as well as line OP. And they are a second set of lines that we have in this picture. And they are not parallel to AB or CD because they cross through them. But they are parallel to each other as well. And so to show that these two are parallel to each other, but not to the other lines, we again draw arrows, but we draw two this time. So since both of these lines have two arrows, that means that they are parallel to each other. So they're running in the exact same direction. So we should be able to take a ruler, and at every point between these two lines, we should be able to measure and see that they're the same distance apart. So let's see if I can pop up a digital ruler here. I'm going to try to, is this going to work? Here we go. I'm going to try to measure it, so get it to be exactly perpendicular to this line, and I'm going to look and I'm going to say, okay, well that's lines MN and OP seem to be about, what am I sitting at here? Just over, or around 7 digital centimeters apart right there. If I move it down, I should be able to measure here, and yeah, I'm still at 7 digital centimeters apart, so that's good. At every point, they should always be the same distance apart. So go to this page. So I'm now going to look at how we can draw two parallel lines to each other. So there's a number of ways that you can do this. I'm just going to go over one right now that I can show you digitally. And you need two pieces of equipment. You need your ruler here, and you'll also need a right angle triangle. And this right angle triangle you should have in your geometry set. It may look a little bit different than this one. One end might be longer than the other. That's okay, either one works. But all this is that this section right here, whoop, where does this? This section right, okay, this isn't working. The corner of our triangle here is exactly 90 degrees. It's made that way, so it should always give us a 90-degree angle coming off of something. So I'm going to get set at 135. So if I want to draw two lines that are for sure parallel to each other, I'm going to take my ruler here. I'm going to take my right angled triangle, and I'm going to place it somewhere. Let's say I place it on the 2. It doesn't exactly matter where, unless I want it a certain distance apart. So let's say I place it on the 2, and I'm going to draw a line along the edge of my right angle triangle coming off of there. And now without changing the angle of my right angle triangle, I'm going to, oh, I just changed the angle. I didn't mean to do that. Oh no. 135 I wanted at. There we go. Uh, I'm going to move, here we go, my right angle triangle along. So let's say I want to make, so that was at 2 centimeters. I want to make them 6 centimeters apart. So I'm going to move this along till I get to the 8, which would mean that my two lines are going to be 6 centimeters apart, or roughly at the 8. And now I'm going to draw, this is still at the same angle. My right angle was right against my ruler. It's still at the same angle to my ruler. And so I can draw another line right here. And these should, if I did not move my ruler at all and I kept my right angle triangle butted up against it, these should be exactly parallel to each other because they are both coming exactly perpendicular, or at least at the same angle, off of my ruler here at the bottom. And I can test to see if it is parallel to each other, if these two lines are parallel to each other, using my ruler. So I'll take my ruler, I'll say, okay, well, they're 6 centimeters apart on this end, they are 6 centimeters apart in the middle, they are 6 centimeters apart in the top, and so yes, they are perpendicular, so I can give them the little arrows that let people know these two lines are parallel. These two lines are parallel to each other. They are never going to intersect. They're going in the exact same direction, just 6 centimeters apart. So those are parallel lines. So here we have a picture of some lines going across, and this is maybe a bit of an optical illusion. We look at this and we have to decide, are these lines going across horizontally across our screen? Are they parallel to each other? And at first, when you look at it, they don't look like they're parallel to each other, but we can take our ruler again, and I'm going to flip it around somehow. How do I do that? There we go. And I'm going to go along, I'm going to measure the distance between these lines. I'm going to measure from this point to this point along that line, and I should be able to see, okay, I'm looking at, it's hard to see here, something like 1.5 digital centimeters. Let's get somewhere I can see a little better. Okay, nope, that's not right. We're looking at just under 2, so we're looking at like 2 little spaces under 2 centimeters. I'm going to go down. I'm going to line up the 0 now along this line and this line. And again, we're at the exact same distance separating those two lines. And if I come over here, again at the exact same distance, I can come check up here. Oh, again, we are right at the same distance. And so while these lines don't look like they are maybe parallel, when we take our ruler, we can measure at every point. This one, move my annoying digital ruler. Again, yeah, just 2 ticks under 2 digital centimeters or inches, whatever this ruler is using. And we can just go from place to place, and we can see along every section, they're all actually the same distance apart. Even though when we step back, they don't look to be all the same. So, parallel lines. Going in the exact same direction, we use little arrows, so after measuring these, I could say, yes, all these lines going across, they are all parallel to each other. So I can use one arrow on all of them, they're parallel. Okay, second, perpendicular lines. So perpendicular lines, perpendicular, the word describes lines that intersect at right angles or 90 degrees to each other. And they are marked using a small square. So we have this small square here in the corner of where those two lines meet. That tells us that these two lines meet at 90 degrees to each other, or they are perpendicular. Now, a straight line should be half of a circle. A whole circle is 360 degrees. A straight line, if you go from one point to another, is half of that. And so that will be 180 degrees. And we are cutting that straight line in half exactly. And so each side of this line should be 90 degrees from the line going across. So we have line AB and then line MN, and it splits line AB, the angle, in half. So there's 90 degrees on each side. So this half would be 90 degrees. Same with this half would be 90 degrees. Because that makes up a straight line, which is 180 degrees. Now, our lines do not always have to be laid out so nicely as the picture here on the left. We have the picture here on the right. We have a line that is going up at an angle here, and we should label our lines. So let's label this line, I don't know, how about AW, because that's great initials of someone, great. So we have A and we have point W. This line's going up at an angle, but another line can still come off of it perpendicular. It doesn't matter what direction this line's going, there can always be another perpendicular line coming off. And so we have this other line, which we should also label, and we will label that M, that point right there, and K, another great person whose initials are those. And this line is coming off, and it is shown to us with this little 90-degree box that fills in there, that those two lines are also 90 degrees to each other, or perpendicular. So we want to make perpendicular lines. We don't have one, and we don't want to just freehand draw it. We want to be exact. And so how do we do that? So there's a few ways to do this. I'm going to show you one, maybe the simplest way. And again, you're going to need this time your ruler, and you're going to need your protractor. So your protractor here is the half circle thing. You are going to take your ruler and you're going to draw a line across it. So I'm going to start it here at 1, and I'm going to end it over here, let's say at 5. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to label each end here. So I can move my ruler now. Actually, wait, I'm just going to label some points. So I want to point at the end, and I'm also going to put for the 3 here on my ruler, I'm going to make another point. So I don't know. Yeah, right there. So I'll move my ruler out of the way. So I have 3 points. Let's label it, I don't know, G. This point right here is H, and this point right here can be I. And we have point G, point H, point I, and now I want to make a line that goes perpendicular from my line GI from point H. So I'm going to take my protractor here that I'm moving around. I'm going to line it up so that the center point lines up on H, just like so. So I take this point, it lines up on H, and now the line that runs along the bottom of my protractor should be nicely lined up with the line that I drew. And now I see here, well, my protractor has 2 measurements, 2 scales going 2 different ways. So over here on the outside, it starts at 0, and it goes 0, then 10, then 10, then 20, then 30, then 40. And I can count that way, or I could count down from 180 because my straight line is 180 degrees. I can count down from 180, 170, 160, 150, 140, or I could start from the other side. And your scale now is just starting from, it's sort of flipped. So if I wanted to start from 0 here, it's just on the inside, but again, it's 0, then 10, then 20, then 30, then 40, and it goes up. So perpendicular lines are 90 degrees in direction from each other. So now, to make a line that's going 90 degrees from line GI, I am just going to put a little mark up here at my 90. Yeah, right about there. My mark. I now can move my protractor out of the way. I'm going to take my straight edge or my ruler. Most rulers should have straight edges, otherwise they're not too useful. And I'm going to line it up here, right connecting those 2 points. I will draw my line right along the edge of my ruler, so it goes through both of those points that I made. And now I have a line that should be 90 degrees to this other line. I can double check that after I've drawn it. I may have made a slight mistake, maybe something shifted or whatever. I can take my protractor, I can set it straight flat to that line, and it should, my new line that I drew should land right on the 90-degree mark right at the top, and I see it doing that up there where I marked it in in green. It's right along the 90 degrees on my protractor. So I have made two lines that are exactly 90 degrees to each other, or are perpendicular to each other. And that is it for today. So if that was confusing, sorry, this is my first time teaching you without you here, so I don't know if you have any questions. You can ask them tomorrow in class or the next time that we have class together. If you're confused about something, maybe go back, watch it again, and see if it makes sense. See you guys later, I guess. Bye.